Streaming now, this is the Wood TV Live Desk.
And good afternoon, everyone. Phil Panarski here with the Wood TV Live Desk. Hope you're having a great start to your day. We have officially entered cicada season here in West Michigan, but that also means that we have entered into cicada killer wasp season as well. What does that mean? How much should we be worried about entering these seasons, and what is a cicada killer wasp? And to talk a little bit more about all that and answer those questions, we are now being joined by digital reporter Matt Jarowski, who actually did a story on these killer wasps yesterday, the cicada killer wasp. Matt, thank you so much for being here once again. It's great to see you.
Of course, thanks.
And first things first, obviously we gotta kind of talk about what everybody's probably wondering. What is a cicada killer wasp? Tell us a little bit more about this insect specifically.
Right, yeah. So being from Michigan, this was kind of new for me. The cicada killer wasp, especially as the DNR talks about, it sounds scary. It looks scary because these are bugs that as adults can grow to become more than an inch long. So this is a pretty big and intimidating looking wasp with an intimidating sounding name. But as far as humans go, they're really not a threat to us. And so the DNR put out a notice last week, just kind of reminding people like, hey, you might see this giant bug around and it could look scary, but they're not going to hurt you.
So it's more so of a warning to be on the lookout for them rather than, hey, board up your doors. These insects are here.
Right.
And they could get you.
Right. It's all on the same line of we talk about the importance of bees as pollinators, but most bees are harmless to people, but they do have that bad rap because a lot of people are afraid of them, don't want them around their homes or their gardens, but we do need to really put an emphasis on protecting those insects. So when it comes to a wasp like this, you hear any phrase killer wasp is going to raise some red flags for certain people.
Right.
But the DNR, they talked about these bugs aren't going to hurt you. Yes, they're big, but there's a few reasons why. One, only females carry the stingers. So it's important to note that the big ones you see with stingers, those are females, and they are really only focused on finding food to feed their eggs. So they go after cicadas, which broods every year emerge right around this time of year. These wasps feed on cicadas. They use the stinger to actually inject a venom, which kind of paralyzes the bug, kills them, and they just bring them back to their nests to give to their eggs so that when they hatch, they have something to eat. The females are not really territorial at all or aggressive. The males, which are smaller, the DNR says can be more aggressive or territorial, especially around the hive, but they don't have stingers, so there's nothing they can do to hurt you. So the MSU expert that I was reading up on basically said, short of you going out of your way and like trying to catch one in your hands, you're not going to get stung. So something to keep in mind.
And one other thing that I found super interesting about the story you wrote, Matt, was that they also live for only a season or about a year long, just like a cicada. So I thought that was pretty interesting. They're kind of having that battle, but they're not going to be here long term necessarily. And like a normal wasp, or as you mentioned earlier, with the bees, people can be kind of scared of those. They're not constantly dealing with them. But I did kind of want to tie that back into the past bee stories that you've done. And those stories mainly focus on conservation and trying to keep the bees around and not being scared by them. This is sort of kind of related to that in the sense that these wasps have a job to do and they're not trying to hurt you, and they're just trying to obviously kind of do their part in nature.
Right, exactly. Cicada killer wasps are not really major pollinators, but the point is that we can live among them, and that's really kind of what both the MSU entomologist and the DNR is saying is even if you find a burrow, they're called burrows, they actually burrow into the ground, so you might see a little dirt mound, like a little horseshoe shape in your yard, or not usually thicker brush. They try to avoid, they try to find more open areas. But they said you really can even work around them, and really short of like trying to harm them, swatting at them, trying to catch them in your hands, they're not going to mess with you. So really nothing to worry about. So just like other bees, we should learn to live with them and have them around, understanding the difference between a honeybee or a bumblebee or a paper hornet or a wasp, those kind of insects that can be more aggressive and aren't necessarily the major pollinators that we would like to keep around.
Right. No, and we've been kind of showing some of the photos of the cicada killer wasps on this stream, and it does look pretty scary. But I'm sure there are a couple people that probably find them a little fascinating. And one of the big tips that the DNR has obviously put out is don't try and catch these as a pet. That's a good way to upset sort of the natural balance of how we interact with these insects, and then also that's a good way for you to get stung yourself if it is a female cicada killer wasp. So I guess just kind of touching on that, you obviously read up a lot on what the DNR was saying about these and MSU. Other tips for people to really just avoid and really just we really want to put this home, for people to avoid any sort of discomfort they may feel or really any danger they may face if they are to interact with these insects.
Right. Yeah, just let nature do its thing. And also, I mean, there's a positive to this too. For those of us who maybe don't care for cicadas, they're big and ugly and gross too, and extremely loud. So having a few of these wasps around may not be the end of the world. So this might be a good thing. You never know.
Right. No, absolutely. And I think that's something to also keep in mind, is that there is another pest out there, the cicadas. Obviously everybody knows them from their loud chirpings, and every year it seems to come back louder and louder. So definitely maybe not a bad thing to have these wasps around. But Matt, again, thank you so much for coming on the live desk as always every Wednesday. If you haven't gotten the chance to check out Matt's story on the cicada killer wasp, I cannot encourage you enough to do so. You can find some pretty interesting photos of the insects, and also really learn up a little bit more on what to expect over the next couple of weeks while these insects are in town. Matt, once again, thank you so much for stopping by the live desk today. We really appreciate it.
Anytime. Talk to you later.
Absolutely. And I want to thank everybody else for tuning in to this latest edition of the Wood TV Live Desk. I'm Phil Pinarski, and we hope you have a great rest of your day.